What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. If this is your first time stopping in, thank you for joining me. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to take a raw stainless exhaust and turn it into an absolute piece of jewelry. Let's get into it. All right, so here we have my SP Concepts Elsinore mid-length with some modifications stainless exhaust system for my 24 Road Glide. In the previous video, you saw me install it and you saw that it looks damn good. So today, I'm gonna teach you guys exactly how to take any raw stainless exhaust system and make it an absolute mirror. There's a lot to it, and honestly, if you don't have all of these tools, or at least some of them right off the bat, I would just say, if you can get a polished version of the exhaust that you like, from whatever company it may be, I would recommend doing that. SP Concepts offers it. It's an extra $250, but I wanted to be able to show you guys how to do it if you're thinking about doing it yourself. Maybe you already have an exhaust system and you just want to take it from regular to just next level. So that's what we're gonna get into today. I'm gonna bring you guys in, show you what we got on the workbench here. All right, so as you guys can see here, we are still in raw form from SP Concepts, scratches and all, but we are going to disappear all of those. Let's get into what we have here. I use Zephyr polishing products. They're really, really good. I've used them for like the last 5 years. I've polished race trailers, wheels, all sorts of stuff. So I recommend using a full face mask. It is a messy job. It's hard on your eyes if you use a half mask, but I have done it. If you have the means to pick one up, highly recommend. I actually pair that with a fire hood. That kind of keeps it out of your ears and whatnot, because this stuff is just impressive. One time I polished in Crocs. It went in all the holes of the Crocs, through my socks. It was in between my toes, and it felt like I had chalk in between my toes. It was like, this is a seriously messy deal. You're gonna have to clean your shower after this, I promise. Anyways, getting back into it here. So Zephyr products, we have 3 different cutting wheels here. This comes in a whole kit. You can get different ones for different uses, but this is pretty universal. You've got your first cut, second cut, and your final cut. You also have 3 different rouge bars. That's your cutting compound, which goes on the wheels. Along with that, we have a rake to remove the cutting compound. We have safety flanges. That's going to keep you safe so these don't pop out and attack you. Along with that, we're using a DeWalt variable RPM polisher / rotary sander, whatever you want to call it. When doing this, there is a lot to consider and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I have polished a race trailer before and it had a safety cable on the tongue of it, safety brake cable. So if the trailer were to pop off the tongue, it would pull that brake cable and lock the tires up, right? So I was polishing and the wheel caught it and it swung around and it slapped me in the neck and scared the shit out of me. So we're not wearing any chains today. We're not wearing any bracelets today. We're gonna tie up any strings. I actually wore the sweatshirt that has no strings on it. So we're taking safety precautions here. You don't wanna have something go wrong with power tools because it goes so damn fast. So I'm gonna get set up here and show you guys how this goes. Okay, Future Jesse here. I am gonna be popping up throughout this video from time to time. When I originally filmed polishing the exhaust about 2 weeks ago, I was just trying to get it done. I didn't want to have to take the face mask on and off. You know, I wanted to just get in the shower, get done with it. So I'm gonna be kind of filling in the blanks here. And the first thing that I want to go over is polishing a used stainless exhaust. So if you have a new stainless exhaust, you just got it, there aren't really any imperfections. There might just be some standard material defects here and there, but when you polish it, that stuff's gonna pretty much disappear. So disregard this portion of the video. This is specifically going to be if you have a used stainless exhaust and you wanna prep it out ahead of time. So when you are prepping out your used stainless exhaust, it's gonna have dirt, it's gonna have some melted riding pants on there, it's gonna have all sorts of stuff, right? Some scratching, oil maybe. So all of that can be brought right out with a few different materials. So I like to use the Scotch-Brite pads. That's also what SP Concepts recommends and a few other exhaust manufacturers. You can use sandpaper, but I do not recommend using a DA or a rotary sander. If you stay in one spot too long, you'll create a bunch of heat and you'll put a dent in the pipe there, or at least a flat spot. And then when you polish it out, it's gonna be super, super obvious. So don't do that. And and you should be all right. So really does not take much effort here. You're really just gonna work with the grain of the metal back and forth, and you're gonna see the color disappear, but it's okay. That's gonna come right back with heat cycles. In this circumstance, I'm actually going to be staying away from the welds because this is my old exhaust. This is my SP Concepts Turnpike full length. I'm using this as an example to show you guys how to prep out a used exhaust. Now, I have had a few people reach out to me asking if this exhaust is gonna be for sale, and I'm sorry, but it has already been sold. A gentleman named Dave down in San Diego purchased it for his 22 Road Glide ST. So I'm cleaning it up for him and shipping it off tomorrow morning. So sorry about that. I'm gonna continue working on this, time lapse it for you guys, and then we'll probably be back to the old video showing you the cutting stages, and we'll keep it rolling. Okay, we've got this all cleaned up. I made sure to stay away from the welds, that way it still keeps that nice heat color. So I'm gonna bring you guys in, show you what it looks like, what you can expect out of just doing the Scotch-Brite. As you can see, it looks pretty much factory. We kept the color in the welds by not getting too close to them, so that'll be really nice. Once he gets it through some heat cycles, it'll come right back to being that golden brown that it was when it was on my bike, but without all of the dirt and oil on it. So that's gonna look really, really good for him. But as you can see here, the whole point of doing this process is just to get it to a uniform level. If you have a bunch of micro scratches in it and then you go to polish, you'll just have all of that be way more evident once it's shiny, because then like any scratch, any gouge, anything like that is kind of highlighted by a polished finish. So you really want to get that surface as prepped as you can prior to doing the polishing process. All right, so we have our safety flange, we have our cutting wheel. It does have a direction. You get your arrow here, so this side is going to be up. It's going to rotate this way. Other safety flange and a nut. Just tighten it up by hand. Good to go. Now, with this first cutting wheel, we're going to be using the red cutting compound. Second wheel green, third wheel white. Okay, so I'm adjusting the RPMs on the buffer right now, 3,500 for this first cut, and I'm cleaning up the wheel with the rake. That's removing any old cutting compound and metal that's kind of built up on the wheel. Now here I'm adding the first cutting compound. That is going to be the red one. Working it into all of the different layers of that wheel. And as we're getting started here, we're going to kind of feel out how we want to do these passes, working around things like the mount flange that's welded to the muffler or the O2 bungs on the headers. Can be a little bit challenging, so you kind of have to figure out the best way to go about that while kind of trying to maintain the direction with the grain of the metal, as well as figuring out how the metal is going to react to the polishing process. So I'm not using the rake to remove all of the old cutting compound. I'm just adding more cutting compound right over the top of it. Some people rake it every single time. Some people rake it every few times. I'm more of a rake it every few times type of person. With aluminum being softer than a stainless steel, you may end up needing to rake more because you're kind of grabbing more material as you're going through this. But with the stainless steel, not a lot of material is being left behind on the wheel, so you don't need to rake it as much, in my personal opinion and experience here. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of seeing how much heat I'm getting into the pipe, how much overlap I'm doing, kind of just calibrating how I'm going to end up approaching this process. So keep it rolling here. I'll check back in with you. So you can already see a drastic change there from the stuff that's been cut and what hasn't. Really nice coloring already. So on this first cut, you can already see a reflection of my finger in the polished section versus the raw. All right, first step is done. We're gonna pull the first cutting wheel off and switch to the second one and keep it rolling. So one very important thing to do in between cuts is take some acetone or lacquer thinner, mineral spirits is fine as well, and wipe the pipe down of any of the previous compound. Because if you're rubbing in the rougher compound with the smoother wheel, it's not really doing much good. So really want to clean the pipe up good with the acetone, and then we'll move on to the next cut. All right, and we're getting started with our second cut here. We're now using the Joker wheel, that's the green and purple wheel, and we're using the green compound with that. Same thing as before, as you can see, starting to really be able to tell a difference from that first polish to that second there. Okay, so second cut is done. These pipes are starting to look really, really good. I'm really happy with that. Now, one thing to note is you do lose the coloring in all of your welds as you do this. You're producing a lot of heat when you're running these buffing wheels across, and it makes a very uniform color, and it's beautiful, but in the process, you do lose that discoloration that you had just at the welds, because obviously at the welds, you had heated up the metal when they welded it to a different temperature than the rest, and that's why there's that change in color. So just something to be aware of. If you do this, you do lose that. So now that we have step 2 here done, pull this wheel off, and we'll get started with the third wheel. That's gonna be our final cut, and we're gonna go ahead and slow the buffer speed down from 3,500 to about 1,800. So, and a lot of compound. All right, well, this stuff has turned out freaking awesome. I know I keep saying it, but man, I'm really, really pleased with it. I even got lucky and didn't mess up the freaking logo. I've seen people where they accidentally catch the, buffing pad on like a logo or something like that and just rip it. So anyways, I think where we're at now, everything is polished with a 3-cut process. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with some final polishing compound to really bring that out, show you guys that. And then we're gonna hit it with degreaser again, or acetone again, to make sure that we really get rid of any residue, because when we fire this bike up for the first time, all of that's gonna cook right off, and we don't wanna have any weird discoloration or anything wrong. So we're wearing gloves from now on, no more fingerprints. And we're really, really being careful to not scratch anything up. Okay, so what we have here is Zephyr's Pro 40 polish. This is good for aluminum, brass, copper, chrome, and stainless steel. Just gonna throw some on the rag here. A little bit goes a long way. And we're gonna rub it onto all of the different pipe pieces and let it sit for a minute, and then you can rub it right off. And that's just that final polishing compound. If you can, it's always smart to go with the grain of the metal and the way that you polished. Not every piece you're gonna be able to do that, but where you can, you should. So I did get some polishing compound within the little, edges of this logo here. No big deal. When we pressure wash, that's gonna come right out. So if you do it right with this polish, you'll actually see the metal get hazy at first, and you just let that sit, and then when you come back and wipe it back off, you get to see the final product of all your hard work. So you can see it's working its magic. This collector is actually right here. This piece is the worst part of it all in terms of how it turned out. You can tell they really did some sanding on it, and I could bring that out. It would just take me having to sand with, let's say, like a 100 grit, 200 grit, 400 grit, 600 grit, and then you can start polishing. That's just not something that I'm interested in doing on this. I'm not really willing to take it that far. right, so now that we have it all polished up and you've seen it on the workbench, here it is on the bike. This is about 2 weeks of heat cycles now, only probably about 100 miles of riding, so it probably will darken in color a bit more, but let's take a look at what it looks like up close. All right, you guys, that is all there is to it. It's not a complicated process, but as you saw, it does take some time and effort. Having the right tools definitely makes all the difference as well. Really cool being able to take a raw stainless and make it just a beautiful polished finish like this. Hopefully, if nothing else, you guys enjoyed it for entertainment purposes. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below with any questions that you have. I'll be glad to help you guys out. And don't forget to subscribe because we've got some really cool parts on the way. I spoke with the companies I've been waiting on parts from, carbon bits, custom wheels, brakes, and all that stuff will be here in the end of January, which means mid-February we can expect to see some really cool changes to the bike. Can't wait to bring those videos to you guys just in time for Daytona Bike Week. We will not be riding to Daytona Bike Week, but the girlfriend and I will be flying out, so make sure you guys say hi if you see us out there. And other than that, I will catch you guys in my next off week.